Hello everyone, my name is Justin Brent and welcome to episode 7 of my NBA 2K77 MyLeague. We look to become one of the greatest dynasties of the 1970s and 80s. In this episode, we look through how our 1977 offseason went and the moves we made. We entered the offseason 38-44 after winning 5 straight games, winning some against expansion franchises, and looked to carry momentum into the 1977-78 season after securing big victories against teams like the New York Knicks and the New Orleans Jazz in the closing stages of the season. But a couple of changes of note. We changed a couple of the rules entering the 1977-78 season. First, we allowed the shot clock to go back to the full duration when possession remains with the same team, so a full 24-second reset. Then, the division winners will now once again get the top 3 playoff seeds in each conference based on record, as per how it was in the 1970s and 80s. The New York Knicks have the first overall pick, followed by a bunch of the expansion franchises and us in 10th. The Nets, Suns, Rockets, and Cavaliers got the rest of the non-playoff positions in the draft standings. When it comes to staff signings, there weren't too many changes I made for 1977-78. I was considering getting a new head coach though, but I didn't like any of the prospects to be able to replace Bill Russell. So, I elected to go against the grain for the real world, where Bill Russell stepped down for the Seattle SuperSonics in the real world, and elected to keep him for one more season to see how he does and then see what draft prospects and coaching prospects there are for 77-78's offseason. Speaking of draft prospects, Bernard King, as talked about, is the king of the class, followed by Davis, Maxwell, Sigma, and Johnson. Otis Birdsong, Norm Nixon are also very strong prospects in this year's draft. It's a class that we've talked about a couple times throughout the season, and the key prospect has been Bernard King, because when it comes to NBA 2K77, he can put up buckets, he can shoot inside, he can shoot outside, he can drive, he can defend. It's very difficult to stop the scoring machine that is Bernard King. Unfortunately though, it's not up to us, it's up to the New York Knicks to see if they select King, and they do. The Tennessee prospect is now a New York Knick. In Sim, he averaged 29 points per game collegiately. That was the tops in the nation. We had a lot of decisions to make though when it came to our pick, because our needs were plentiful. Our best player was an 82 overall shooting guard, of course, in Fred Brown entering the offseason. Slick Watts, not the future at point guard in my opinion, a short-term fix. Small forward, lots of potential openings. Power forward, lots of potential openings. Center was the most barren in my opinion. And like in the real world, it seemed very likely that we may go with Jack Sigma. And I thought about this a lot, to go with either Birdsong or Sigma. Sigma ended up being the better of the prospects in my opinion. Even with the lower overall, it fit the team needs more. So, with the second official overall pick, I selected Jack Sigma and followed the real-world grain for the Seattle SuperSonics. I'm interested to see how Jack Sigma will play, especially since he's known as a great rebounder in NBA 2K77. We'll have to see. Cedric Maxwell went to the New York Nets afterwards. Then Johnson went to the Phoenix Suns the next pick after that. The Houston Rockets picked up Brad Davis, the point guard from Maryland, with the 13th overall pick in game. And the last of the non-playoff teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers, picked up Birdsong, who dropped all the way to them, projected at 80 overall by our scouting department. As well, the Los Angeles Lakers picked up a strong small forward and Ballard. Ricky Green went all the way to the Bucks, and then we got an intriguing trade offer. And I thought about this long and hard, because Bruce Seals was not in my future at power forward in my opinion. A first round pick for Seals and a second, while it didn't match the overall grade value test, I thought about it and said, you know what, let's pick up another rookie, and filled the need at small forward. Robert Reed fit that need. He was the best available small forward on the board, and we picked him up. So, 2 rookies in this draft. Bernard King has talked about 83 overall. He is one of the highest projected so far in NBA 2K77's draft classes. And boy, was this a strong draft class when you look at the overalls. A majority of the players were 75 and above overall throughout this entire first round. And there were several second rounders who were about 72, 73, 74 overall. That, unfortunately, due to NBA 2K being NBA 2K, likely won't make some of the final rosters. When it comes to the cap holds, we had 5 players on the market and immediately elected to waive 3 of them and focused my efforts on 2 players, Mike Bantam and Tom Burleson. Who really intrigued me the most though was Bob Dandridge for free agency, because I thought if we can bring a star small forward or a star in general that can bring a veteran presence to the team, we may be able to win. And I thought about this afterwards, and my thought was, I hope this doesn't become an albatross of a contract. We end up re-signing both Burleson as well as picking up Dandridge in the first day of the moratorium. Mike Bantam would not be on the market for day number 2. I elect to go and get a 3rd point guard as well for the team after what happened against the New Orleans Jazz with Don Boosie. And I as well wanted to go after Brian Taylor and see what we could do. He ended up going elsewhere. So we pick up Dandridge, Burleson, and Boosie through the moratorium period, with Maurice Lucas going to the Rockets. Nate Archibald stayed with the Nets. Billy Knight went to the Washington Bullets. We picked up Dandridge as talked about. Walt Frazier went to the Kings. Taylor went to the 76ers. John Williamson to the Suns. And Mike Bantam to the Chicago Bulls. I also put in some minimum contract offers to a couple different prospects. Randy Danton was one of those prospects that intrigued me the most. He didn't end up signing, but I also did offer a minimum contract to Ted McClain, the 31-year-old veteran, because I liked his shooting ability both in mid-range and outside. I also sent an offer sheet to Byron Beck, who was one of the top free throw shooters in 1976-77. In the end, we do pick up Beck and McClain with our final roster spots. Now, when it comes to the progression, there wasn't too much of it, surprisingly. Dennis Johnson didn't progress like I thought he would, only went to 77 overall. Brett Brown regressed to 82 overall. Wilkerson only went to 75 overall, but his inside shooting did improve. But a majority of our roster seen a fair bit of regression, entering 77, 78. Now, when it comes to training camp, I did the usual thing. I upgraded the potential of all our players, because one of the tweaks when it came to NBA 2K21 was, if you don't take the time to develop your stars, they can lose potential if they don't get playing time. So I balanced that out by giving it to Dennis Johnson. I also did untap potential for both Sigma and for Wilkerson. So our rotation is Watts, Brown, Dandridge, Brewer, and Sigma for opening day, with Bob Wilkerson as the 6th man, Dennis Johnson off the bench along with Reed, Green, and Burleson, the first player out of the rotation. Is it a championship winning team? Not yet. Is it a playoff contending team? Possibly. I felt very positive about some of the decisions made and not so much afterwards when thinking about it. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments section below, as it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for episode 7 of my NBA 2K77 MyLeague. The 1977-78 season is around the corner. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. I'll see you next time.